Hey everyone, it's John Heath here again for MiltonRose Learning with another Let's Learn lesson on the poem Like an Heiress by Grace Nichols. Okay, so we are going to kick off with some of the key context, which just helps unlock the poem for you, just to kind of get into it, and obviously helps with the high marks when you're writing in your essays and exams. Then we're going to have a little poetry reading. So we'll go to a kind of a beautiful kind of island, but it's fell on hard times. And then we will round off with some really good annotations that you can then just chuck straight into your anthologies. So it will kind of really help pull the poem together for you. Okay, so Like an Heiress, let's start with the context, okay? So we have a beautiful kind of Caribbean island there in terms of the image, and then we have Grace Nichols there with playfully playing with her glasses. Okay, so let's have a little look first at the context. So there we go. So Grace Nichols was born in Guyana. So it's basically a beautiful kind of Caribbean kind of island. And she frequently draws on the landscape, the rhythm, and the maritime legacy, like the coastline legacy of the Caribbean, celebrating a vibrant cultural identity shaped by the sea, because obviously in the Caribbean they're islands, and so the sea plays a beautiful part in the rhythm of daily life of those kind of islands. And she really kind of draws on that in this poem as well. Okay. Then redefining wealth and colonial legacy. So the poem kind of subverts or turns inside out. That's a really good word for your essays. It subverts traditional colonial ideas of material inheritance, because in the British Empire, which ruled over the Caribbean and whatnot, we have ideas of material inheritance. So when somebody dies, you are the heir and you take over the money and the property and all that kind of stuff. But she's subverting that, and she claims that the natural world and cultural heritage is richer and a truer birthright than any monetary riches, any money-based riches. So we all inherit the earth, we all inherit beaches, we all inherit the ocean. You know, those are all of our kind of shared inheritances, and that is more important than inheriting a house or inheriting money and things like that. She's not really that interested in that concept of wealth and inheritance. It's all about inheriting nature together in this poem. And then also there is a kind of element of female empowerment and spiritual sovereignty or freedom. So Nichols presents the speaker's connection to nature not as just a passive observation, but as an act of regal ownership and joy. It's all of ours. We all own the ocean. We all own nature. We all own the trees and the birds and things like that. So it claims freedom, abundance, and ancestral dignity on her own terms. It doesn't matter if you're not rich and you're not going to be an heiress, kind of inheriting, millions or billions. It's about there are deeper things than that. And when you look in nature, which is all of ours, that's the true inheritance, not any money or houses or property or things like that. So she's very kind of non-materialistic, if I can put it that way. Okay. So those are some of the key contextual notes that you need to understand for this poem. Now, let's have a nice read, and you can see, look at the beautiful kind of imagery. That beach belongs to us all, the water belongs to us all, that mountain in the distance. That's our true inheritance as humans, not money, power, or kind of property. Okay. However, the island has fallen on hard times, so our inheritance of nature is kind of being damaged. So let's have a little read of this poem together. Like an heiress drawn to the light of her eye-catching jewels, Atlantic draws me to the mirror of my oceanic small days. So basically she's saying, she's going back, she's in the Caribbean and she's looking back over on an island and looking out to the Atlantic. But the beach is deserted except for a lone wave of rubbish against the seawall. So the inheritance of the beach, it's being damaged. Used car tyres, plastic bottles, styrofoam cups, rightly tossed back by an ocean's mood swings, that personification of the ocean there. We're damaging our inheritance here through environmental degradation, global warming, things like that. Undisturbed, not even by a seabird, I stand under the sun's burning treasury. Treasury is like money, obviously it's like a metaphor there, but look at it, the treasury is burning. We're burning through our inheritance here of nature, we're damaging it. Gazing out at the far-out gleam of Atlantic before heading back like a tourist to the sanctuary of my hotel room to dwell in the air-conditioned coolness on the quickening years and fate of our planet. So it ends with a real lament about global warming and about environmental degradation, all the rubbish on the beach, because we do have this beautiful inheritance, but we're damaging it. We're kind of just wrecking it, aren't we, basically, with all the rubbish and stuff that we're throwing into the ocean, and we don't really care. And so that's the true authorial intention of the poem, to make us care more about our true inheritance of the natural world. Okay. So let's give you some good poetry annotations now to whop straight into your anthologies. You can see that's the island, isn't it? And look at what we're doing to it with all the rubbish and plastic and it's just a mess, isn't it? Okay, so let's look at what annotations we need to worry about then. So at the start, the opening lines and subverting wealth. Let's just get rid of that. So, like an heiress drawn to the light of her eye-catching jewels, the Atlantic draws me to the mirror of my oceanic small days. So when she was a child. So the simile of aristocratic wealth, like an heiress, subverts traditional European notions of inherited material riches, claims the sea and ancestral memory as true wealth. That's the only thing that matters. I think that's the key message from the poem. The metaphor and the mirror motif, the mirror of my oceanic small days, it frames the vast Atlantic Ocean as a reflective surface, like a mirror, evoking Guyanese childhood nostalgia and personal roots. Okay, when she looks at the mirror of that Atlantic Ocean, it's like looking at a previous version of herself. Okay, it's very much a powerful poetic symbol there. And the magnetic personification, so the Atlantic draws me like a magnet. It presents the ocean as an active, powerful ancestral force, commanding emotional return. Okay, you will return and see me and look after me because, you know, as the Atlantic Ocean, that is her true calling and her true inheritance. Then we have ecological pollution and nature's retaliation. So the beach is deserted except for a lone wave of rubbish, car tyres, plastic bottles, styrofoam cups, rightly tossed back by an ocean's mood swings. So look at the catalogue of non-biodegradable waste. That's never going to go anywhere. Tyres, plastic bottles and styrofoam are like eternal plastics that are going to be there forever. They're never going to break down. So it shatters the idyllic Caribbean paradise kind of trope with the harsh reality of environmental degradation. We're destroying the earth, aren't we? Let's be honest. And this image kind of shows that we are destroying these beautiful kind of Caribbean paradises, if I can put it up that way, through sheer neglect and environmental degradation. There's also retributive, I'm just about to say that, personification. So the ocean rightly tossed it all back. So it approves of the ocean rejecting human pollution and frames nature not as passive, but as a living force that's holding humanity accountable. It's telling us what not to do, basically. Stop harming me. Okay. And the metaphor wave of rubbish, because it's not literally a wave, grimly replaces the natural rhythm of ocean waves, there we go, with manufactured human debris. We're just killing it, aren't we? And the wave, massive image there shows the vast scale as well of this degradation. Then we have the sublime sun and tourism alienation. So undisturbed, not even by a seabird, I stand under the sun's burning treasury, gazing out at the far-out gleam of Atlantic before heading back like a tourist. So the metaphor of abundance, the sun's burning treasury, it sustains the wealth motif, because treasury means where you keep all your money, and it celebrates nature's radiant, untamable luxury over material gold. Material gold means nothing, only nature means something. And it's a simile of detachment, so like a tourist, so it captures the painful diaspora, the scattering of migrants, the rupture of feeling like an outsider or a visitor in one's homeland now, because she's not from Guyana anymore. She's returned and she doesn't feel fully at peace with the place anymore. And the desolate lexis, or word choices, undisturbed and lone. So it evokes a very sombre, very sad, solitary atmosphere, and it highlights the environmental loss and the human abandonment. We are wrecking these beautiful kind of locations. Okay, and then just the last one, the closing lines here. And the global ecological crisis by degradation and global warming. To the sanctuary of my hotel room, to dwell in the air-conditioned coolness, on the quickening years and the fate of our planet. So it's an artificial refuge where she's ran away to that hotel room. So it contrasts the natural heat of the coast with artificial energy-consuming modern comfort. You know, that air conditioning, just like using electricity and contributing to global warming. The temporal anxiety as well, quickening years, that phrase, it reflects the rapid passage of personal time, and it's intertwined with that, with the climate crisis that's kind of like constantly accelerating. And then it ends on a very philosophical note, the fate of our planet. So it widens her personal homecoming to the Caribbean into an urgent global meditation on our ecological survival. You know, it forces the reader to meditate on global warming. Where is the species going? What will happen to these very fragile kind of ecologies and islands if we don't do something, and we don't do something now? That's a very powerful political message that she has, and it's a really good place for us to end on and to get us to reflect. But there you go. Okay, very deep again, as it normally is in these lessons, isn't it? So that is obviously Like an Heiress. And it just remains to say, hopefully we've opened the door to that poem. It just remains to say, obviously, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss another Let's Learn video again. If you have any messages that you want to relay about the poem or how you're studying it in class as well, please do pop it in the comments and we'll always do our best to reply. So finally, it just remains to say that's the poem Like an Heiress. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, and we've opened your mind with a few of the big ideas in that poem. And yeah, it just remains to say we'll take care. We'll see you soon.